Welcome to episode 20 of our beautiful and bodacious podcast, Cynchranici-Tea, where we know that nothing is a coincidence, so everything is intentional. How do you feel about that? Let's talk about it. And again, when we say that everything is intentional, we know that we would literally not be able to observe something if a spirit who became aware of its nothing did not intentionally create that something to represent it. And because you intend to be aware of spaces outside of yourself, now we can see how both of these spirits' intentions come together to make life possible. I intend to be aware of you. You intend to be aware of me. So we have both created bodies in this reality where we can learn the same languages. We can be aware of the same TV shows, the same books, the same news, the same world events. And now we can subconsciously and thus consciously connect on what we see. That's all we're doing as humans. That's all we're doing as spirits in bodies. Like, anytime you're a spirit in a body, you are inside of a bigger body and you are learning about yourself based on how you're communicating with other bodies about other bodies. That's just like big Gemini energy. And then, of course, it's important not to get lost in gossip. Like, you don't want to talk about what you see and what's going on in the environment in an unproductive way. You always want to be communicating about what you see and what you're going through in a way that will allow you to build something better. So, this is our topic for today's episode. The tree, right? Last episode, we talked about the snake. We talked about the S. Now we're talking about the T. Now we're talking about the tree. And then with literally just these two podcasts, like episode 19 and episode 20, we're about to have such a greater grasp on what ST ability truly means, what the caduceus truly means. Why is fasting and bringing your serpent into your own space to have sex with yourself so hermetically, harmoniously awesome? That is what we are getting into today, because shout out symmetry, shout out trees, shout out symmetry getting uprooted on TikTok, because we're addressing this. All right, getting off my 19 days of water fasting, we are addressing why TikTok would be taking my account, just considering what I've seen them allow up there, because I had to talk about this. That's the point of the S. The serpent, the snake speaks. So I can be here like fighting myself and allowing other people to let me fight myself based on the comments that I get from like spiritual people. Because it's like the people who like to think of themselves as spiritual that are telling me that I shouldn't be sharing or speaking about fasting on social media. And I'm like, okay, well, you are not aware, because I was actually called here to elevate everyone's consciousness in terms of showing them how we are actually healthier when we're in a spiritual state and when we're in a psychedelic state and when we're connecting with our nothingness, not when we're in a physical state of eating constantly all the time and consuming whatever the people who want to control us tell us we need to consume in order to be healthy. And then the more we consume what they create for us, the more we actually ingest all these heavy metals that the FDA allows in the baby food. Now we're ingesting all these carcinogens and chemicals that the FDA allows in all of our food. The FDA allows so much garbage to be in our food. And for them to be authorizing us to get these mandatory shots, this is why I'm here. Like, you see why I'm here. I'm very much needed in this world. This world needs fasting. So when I get done fasting for 19 days, it's kind of not a coincidence that my stuff would get shut down, and I'm here alchemizing it into things that make more sense. Because I can fight myself in terms of, oh, I was a snake. You know, I'm such a snake. I'm going out of my space digitally. Like, I'm supposed to be fasting alone, but I keep wanting to speak about it. I keep wanting to project out to spirits who aren't me, versus just connecting with myself about fasting and then getting deeper in connecting with myself about fasting. That is the difference between the S and the T. I spent my first 11 days fasting alone. So, it's not like I spent my whole fast just talking into a phone. It's literally the fact that I'm here to build a business on teaching people how to be healthier, happier, and more harmonious with all of my hermetic somatic properties. All the religions that people have been giving their lives to and been letting cause climate change are using my properties. So I'm the most valuable motherfucker in this world. Like, the people who made money mean something are using my creations to make money matter. Literally, of course. The caduceus, you think you can put a price on that when the medical industry is making like Googleplex dollars, just infinite amount of money off of using it to poison people? Like, clearly you can't actually put a price on human life. You can't put a price on an idea that someone creates. All you can do is make prices out of ideas. Like these white supremacist Jewish Christian governments that take over indigenous lands and enslave indigenous peoples, all they can do is make money off of our priceless bodies. So now they can put numbers on us. Now they can quantify us and control us in ways that make them feel good because they don't feel good enough alone. So this is everything. Like, this is how my brain works. So this is, what I'm just thinking in terms of like, oh snap, should I have been fasting alone? But if I keep fasting alone, you're not going to know that it's healthy. Like, this is the white supremacist warfare of this world. Like, I love fasting alone. Bro, I did my 24 days in Chicago. I had to talk to people because I'm working as an RA. I'm working in the dorm that I'm living in and actively working with my school and having to combat people trying to make me eat because everyone thinks that it's healthier for me to continuously consume the poison that they're complaining about having health issues from. Fuck. And I had to do it publicly there. After that, I fasted so much privately. Like, I love fasting alone. The point is, I do it alone. Like, what? Then that's it. I didn't build a structure out of it. I didn't communicate about how I'm connecting with myself. Like, if I'm just here connecting with myself, this is the water alchemy. Like, this is just elemental alchemy. Like, if I'm just in my water element, like, okay, I'm water fasting, because that's the point of water fasting. You're drinking water. You're getting connected with yourself. If I'm purely in my water element without communicating, then no one outside of myself is going to know that what I'm doing is healthy. Because most of my life communicating about what I've been doing, most people want to tell me that it's not healthy. Like, that's why I'm sure my TikTok got taken as symmetry. Like, because we're literally in this weird matrix mentality where people have been conditioned to think that it is healthier to eat heavy metal, carcinogenic, FDA approved poison instead of eating their spirit, aka nothing. So I have to be here upset about this. I have to be here passionate about this. We don't have to use the words upset, but it's about passion. And it is about your passion is unique to you. So only I can be this passionate about how fasting is healthy and how the medical industry is using my creation, which I can explain so much more consciously than they can even imagine, to create health problems inside of everybody. Like, only I can do this because this is my imagination. The caduceus, everything that I've created as Hermes, as Tahuti, as Ningishzida, as Zoroaster, as Hermanubis, as Mercurius Ter Maximus, as Symmetry, as Chikitet, as so many other bodies and names that represent my spirit. Just me as a spirit. Me as an individual space. All these things. So that I can continuously connect in more intelligent ways. It makes no sense to think that you would only live once and you need to spend your whole life working to go somewhere else. That's literally the ultimate white supremacist thought. Like, why are you not happy alone? And why can't you build your own heaven? I, as Symmetry, build my own simulations. That's the whole point. Like, I could not be happy in anyone else's world but my own because I know who I am. The only reason I would think that I'm going to be happy in a world that someone else made up for me is because I don't know who I truly am. And now this person is using my ignorance of who I am to make me a slave to their heaven, to make me a slave to their concepts. Now this Jewish person can make me follow all of their rules just so that they can make money off of enslaving my indigenous mind. So today, we are addressing the S versus the T, the snake versus the tree, and the big difference between snakes and trees, and the importance of using your snake to build your tree, and the relationship between snakes and trees and what it all spiritually means. Because this is all synchronistic for me. I'm like on a wave. Like this is my awakening journey. Of like I have been unaware of who I am, and my spirit is slowly making me more aware of who I am every single day, just based on its intelligence. Like if I was truly this fiery, if I was this connected with myself in school and going through the whole system, it would have been unbearable, and I would have been speaking out of turn and caused too much attention to myself. So this is what the S and the T are. Here's the main difference. S is the number 1 and T is the number 2. S is fire. S is individuality. S is projecting your ego outwards. T is reflection. T is collectivity. T is you connecting with your spirit so that you can cultivate your own T repeatedly, your own tree repeatedly, your own time repeatedly. And you can only have your own sense of time once you have your own nature. So this is why time comes after whatever grows out of your soul. So when you actually have your own soul, when you have your own vibration, everything you grow out of there is going to then be how you dictate your sense of time. This is why we collectively on Earth, our idea of time is actually naturally based in the rings that trees create. Literally. So again, no coincidences. Trees dictate time. The tree has to exist first before we can create a time system off of how it grows. So let's take this flying magic carpet ride through the astral realm as we blaze the little trees, breathe in our leaves. We will balance our chi, and we will, in fact, triple our C, as we more consciously and creatively communicate about how spirits use elements, numbers, animals, and plants to create life. Gang, gang. Crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying too. Relay a word, those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth, my soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. We get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting, I've been vibing. When I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses, they scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connections. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I fell to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes to my tree. I balance in my seasons. I mama the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. To my tree, balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. To my trees. Alright, so snakes, as we covered in the last episode, are very important to me as Hermes. We're all snakes. From what I've seen through all my travels in the universe, a snake is the main animal that spirits use to connect. This is why we can see it in the alphabet. And when we say, you know, a snake, a serpent, you'll get it. I mean, we're just going to keep exploring here. Because when we see a snake here, when we see animals here, these animals, these energies exist in all simulations. Like everything that we can experience and observe here is in all simulations, because all simulations are us as spirits first creating nature, creating the universe, and then creating the artificial construct inside the universe that allows us to stabilize how we connect. Because the universe had to be created first so that we can connect. But now we have to create structures inside of the universe so that we can build bodies inside of these structures to experience ourselves inside of something stable. And now we can all relate on stability. Even though stability is only possible because of chaos, so we're constantly using our ability to communicate to stabilize our lives. This is why your life is never truly stable. Your life is infinitely chaotic because you are actually always dying. And when you're always dying, that's where you want to use your life to stabilize how you die. So this is the funny interplay between a snake and tree, because that's the wisdom here. If you live just as a snake, like if you as a spirit, we're looking at STU as we covered in the last episode. STU. S is your body, T is your mind, you are the spirit. Communicating both of these into existence and thus communicating yourself into existence. So that's where S, the body, literally doesn't matter without the mind. We know this for a fact. Your body does not matter without your mind. I don't care about your flesh. I don't care about your physical vessel. I don't want bodies in my apartment for a party. Right? Like if I'm throwing a party, if I'm throwing a function, I don't care about having bodies in there. Like I don't want physical bodies. I don't care. I want minds. Now, if minds have to use bodies to come into this space so that we can hang out, fine. But the only reason I would care about your body is because I care about your mind. And everyone subconsciously gets this when we're talking about actually building relationships with people. Right? Like that's, of course, I mean, we're in this American white supremacist world where most people are lost in the body. And this whole awakening process that's taking place, I'm recording this in 2021. It's about to be 2022 because it's after Thanksgiving. So we're about to hit December, be out of here. Time's moving kind of fast. Like, it does feel like it's moving faster, low-key. But then, of course, when you're fasting, time slows down. And it's funny. Like, you go fast. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you go faster, so everything slows down. Because it's just all about your vibration. So when you're fasting, the higher you raise your vibration, literally, the faster you can process your environment, the faster you can communicate internally, and thus, you're literally in the Matrix. Like, the Matrix is about fasting. Everything's about fasting. This world just jacked all of Hermes' stuff, and they want to make you obsessed with pharmaceutical medication. But then they're going to use my name to sell pharmaceutical medication. They're going to use my creations to sell pharmaceutical medication because I'm the god of alchemy. And then I have to come back and tell you that you yourself are the most awesome alchemy ever. And you just have to learn how to connect with yourself, which is what I as Hermes, I as Tahuti Trismegistus, have been doing for all of my life. Like, and all of my lifetimes. That's when I say all of my life, I'm not talking about just this body. I'm like so tapped in to my other lifetimes. What? Like, I'm so there right now. The whole point is my spirit is specifically limiting my awareness of the many details of those lifetimes because they're not relevant to the details of this lifetime. That's the point of us living multiple lifetimes. I'm speaking totally different languages in those lifetimes. So it makes more sense for me to channel my subconscious mind, which has already gained intelligence and gained memory and gained wisdom from communicating inside of those languages, to communicate into this one and build something new with my mind, with my soul. Something that only I can create because only I know where I've been. Only I know the true history of what I have created. So when white supremacists are taking over my creations and making their own creations out of it, it can only ride my vibration. Which is why then all of their stuff is whack. Because all their stuff, they're not connecting with themselves and making anything organic. They're not connecting with themselves and making Spider-Man organically. They're looking at the Greek, Roman, Egyptian gods that have already been working, and then they make their own version of those. So they're literally looking at individuals who have already expressed themselves, have already created a vibration on this planet, and then they take it and alchemize it into what serves them. So they look at Hermes, take him, alchemize him into Spider-Man. They look at Tahuti Trismegistus, take him and alchemize him into Thoth, and then take him and alchemize him into Black Panther, because Tahuti's too black. Tahuti's too black for white people, so they had to make him Thoth. And then he's Black Panther. Which is so funny that he's too black, but at the same time, they still need to use the actual word black to try and push that idea. Ugh. So, this is why everything is just spiritual. Like, you either know that you created your own idea and you can keep riding your own wave and keep making who you are, or if you don't believe in yourself, you can ride the wave of others by piggybacking off of their ideas. But then that's where you get two different kinds of people. The people who will piggyback off of a religion and they're happy just being a follower of that religion. And then there's the people who will piggyback off of a religion because they want to do what the religion is doing and control people. And then you just get like, that's how denominations of religions come out. Because it's just people following one system, and then they make their own even more limited version of that system. And then the people who get into that system make their own limited version of that system, because everyone wants to get control over spaces outside of themselves and play God by projecting out some idea of how we're actually not God. So again, I as Hermes, as Tahuti Trismegistus, as Symmetry, have to be here as an individual God, more than infinitely happy alone. I must be here communicating from my individual infinite perspective about how you are God, because I know who I am. This is what makes me Hermes. This is why I tripled my C. I am so deeply in touch with who I am that I know who you are. I know that you are space, alchemizing your thoughts and feelings into consciousness. And now your consciousness is animating a body that allows you to feel connected with other forms of consciousness. Boom. From everything from there, I would have to listen to you tell me about yourself. Like, the only reason I could actually then know who you are is if I listen to you tell me who you are as an individual. Like, this is the difference between indigenous peoples and white supremacists, or Jewish, Judeo-Christian colonizers who are obsessed with cannibalizing the Greco-Roman stuff because they want to be Egyptian while hating black people. And so that's just how lostness happens. Because, of course, if you're someone who's already following a religion, that means you're not connected to yourself. And if you want to connect with yourself more by creating a religion out of that religion so that you can make even more people connect with your idea, then, like, that's just more and more lostness. And, hey, let me actually make this clear, because obviously I'm speaking as literally an individual God. An individual God who loves to be alone because I have cults of women literally chasing me. Like, I literally have spirits in their wise feminine energies feeling like the most intelligent thing that they could put their energy towards is projecting at me, trying to get connected to me. And so this is where a lot of my wisdom comes from as well. It's literally all my life experience. Where else could wisdom come from? Like, if I believe that I've only lived once, then I am lost. I'm lost in the language that I was taught. So this is why I, as Hermes, am here connecting with myself while connecting with you, because that's the whole point of balance. That's the whole point of symmetry in your life. Like, life doesn't happen alone, but you're not going to build anywhere close to a happy, harmonious, or hermetic life if you're not happy alone, if you're not super joyful alone, if you don't actually prefer being alone. This is why artists are introverts. So S is extrovert energy, T is introvert energy. For the first 11 days of my water fast, I'm good at my tea. Like, I'm working on my shit. I love fasting because I can just make art. I'm not distracted by consuming things. I'm not distracted by literally going out of my space. Like, I can observe this and feel it. Where when I'm creating, that's the focus, right? Like, the focus is you on one point. You as a spirit, you spear it. That's the indigenous terminology for spears. It's all about the spirit. You're pointing towards an individual space. You can never touch the individual space, but you can use a spear to point at it. So indigenous wise, like, even the word spirit, the point is our spirit points towards our space. I myself am not my space. Actually, that's hilarious. That was very earth. I myself am my space. The thing is, my space has to create a spirit that can then be conscious of its circumstances. This is weird. And like, if it actually like gets that deep, whatever, hold up, because I've kind of been addressing like, okay, the space is the spirit, but actually though, the space itself is truly nothing, and the space has to become aware of its own nothingness, which then makes it a spirit. Because once a spirit becomes aware that it's nothing, once a spirit becomes aware that it's space, that's where it creates the ego. And that's where it starts to get lost in something. And then this is where we get the elemental alchemical process of imagination into soul, into consciousness, into structure. Or just in general, how a space creates an imagination. Once you like your God, you get wet, you want to connect with it. That's Lucifer. You combine your fire and water together, and now you have humans. Now you have a mind that's able to communicate through all these forms of light to express your imagination through, and then that results in structures. That naturally results in earth that you can see, touch, and feel like you're feeling based on the resonance of you with those objects. So a spirit cannot exist if it's not aware of its own space. So this is why everyone unconsciously, as spirits, as space, like again, like we're experiencing ourselves as spirits, but even I'm like taking it deeper then of how the space has to become aware of its own circumstances to even feel like a spirit. But us feeling like spirits, we're still like that in and of itself is a term that we feel like connecting to from our own space. So we're using the term spirit to point at our space. So when I as a space become aware of my circumstances being that I'm nothing, I now become a spirit, because now I'm able to communicate about my circumstances. By communicating my circumstances, because I feel like I want to, and I feel like turning my circumstances into something else, I can now become God. Now I'm expressing my fire, my individual imagination out into the space. And it's just like infinitely spreading. Like I have all the room in the world because it's infinite space. And then it takes me expressing my God for whatever amount of time, being lost in my imagination for whatever amount of time, to realize that I'm alone in that. And really, the way that works is like your imagination is just constantly spreading, like your God is constantly expanding, but it takes you connecting with it and containing it for it to actually be sustainable. And that's where you really realize that you're alone, because it took you connecting with your imagination to then start communicating and know that you have control over everything inside of your own circumstances. So then this is where you learn about yourself as a space becoming a spirit. Now you can learn about your own space based on how it's communicating itself into spiritual reality. Because it's like spiritual reality exists inside of space. So that's why I'm making this distinction. That a space has to become aware of its circumstances of being nothing before it can even get to the point of feeling like it's a spirit that's then creating a mind that is anchored to a body. So that's why when you're alone in your imagination and you like what you see, you're like your ego, then you want to get connected to it. This is a simultaneous process of you want to connect to it, and you realize that you are alone as you connect with it. And you may have well realized that you were alone in your imagination when you were creating it, but once you use your water to connect with your own fire, that's where your air, your mind, the way you communicate inside of your space really shows you how you are alone with yourself. Your God, your imagination, is the ultimate expression of who you are when you're alone. Your Lucifer, your water, your soul, that's your polarity. So this is where we get the infinite vibration of the universe. Like the vibration literally comes from, all vibrations come from spirits having to be connected with their nothingness in order to feel connected with something. So that's literally why when I fast, when anyone fasts, their vibration rises, because they're getting more connected to nothing than something. And as you frequently get connected more to nothing, you're able to literally vibrate at a higher frequency, because the highest frequency in the world, in all of life, is nothingness, is you actually just eating space. So then that's where we get breatharianism and just being conscious then of what comes into your space as a body. So T, being the 20th number in the English alphabet, is all about providing more space for connections. This is the difference between S and T. S, the snake, goes out of its way to connect with others. So when you as a space connect with your own imagination and you feel like connecting with your own imagination. So now you have your own universe, you have your own soul, and now you're able to develop a mind that allows you to communicate your imagination and feelings to others, which is then the universe. Hence why the universe is air, but it's water-based. You can travel anywhere you feel like going. It's just all about how in resonance you are with yourself as a spirit to be able to actually separate your mind from your body and literally visit other worlds. White supremacists, again, they want to live that interstellar life of doing it in reverse, where they're going to try and alchemize technology or alchemize the minerals in the environment to create some sort of structure that allows their body to travel into a totally different planet. And it's like, bro, you could just work from the top down and have a way better time. Like, I don't understand the obsession with your body. Like, are you just that low vibrational as a spirit? I guess so.